so much for that. Seppi, as we were listening to Ray, he talks about hits, he talks about misses, and he really set us up because he knows you and I are infrastructure nerds. And he said that infrastructure has been a miss. And you and I know that our state has some very significant needs and that the NC Chamber has been actively engaged on the issue of infrastructure. If you will, talk about the priorities and actions and why they're so important for our state's economy.
Yes, thank you very much, Board. I am cannot even find the words to emphasize enough the importance of transportation funding. A growing state like North Carolina constantly needs to address its growth challenges with not only taking care of the existing facilities, but also with addressing new interchanges, widening existing roads, taking care of the bridges that are crumbling. So the state of North Carolina is at a crossroad with such an interesting business climate, with being so popular for many folks to move here. We really are having an important decision to make about how to address our transportation funding. It is currently in crisis. As many of you people who are listening know, that we have had a significant shortfall in the transportation budget. And North Carolina Chamber has been always leading on this effort to make sure that we have adequate transportation funding. COVID-19 brought to light the impact of the funding of transportation, because we are deeply connected to this tax for the gas tax sales. So that's a really important issue, and with less transportation activities, that has become very important. Prior to COVID-19, where Kelly is going to touch on, we were at North Carolina Chamber focused on looking at alternative sources for transportation funding. And I know that you as well, with the North Carolina First Commission, you're looking at alternative transportation funding. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're going to have to sort that out, because you make such a good point. And that is, if we go back several generations ago, one of the North Carolina governors back in the 1940s and 50s said he wanted to have North Carolina in a position that no one had to travel more than 2 miles to find a paved road. That doesn't sound like a big deal today, but when we look at the paved roads that we have to maintain in North Carolina, Seppi, as you know, they're second only to the state of Texas, and we clearly don't have that same size.
Exactly, you're so right. We are the good road state. We're proud of our roads, and it's really important for economic development. And that's where I think it's very important for everybody to think about when they see construction activities going on today. All of the design and permitting effort to do this was funded years ago. So it's really important not to just look at what is going on today, but to recognize that if we don't address our transportation funding today, we're going to really be hurting several years from now. So to that end, there are two important topics that are happening at the North Carolina Chamber. One is looking at the transportation funding reform, which is incredibly important, and also our support, as Ray mentioned, for the House Bill 1225, which is the Education and Transportation Fund bond that we are hoping to be able to get enough support. It should be a bipartisan support, and we should be able to easily get enough, not easily, but hopefully we should be able to get enough support behind this bond. It is a great time to borrow money. Like any good business, sometimes we need money to grow. We as a state are also looking at it, running it like a business. So we also need to borrow to grow. So I would support that. The Chamber supports the bond, and also looking at the reform. Important times, and thank you for allowing me to speak on that.
Seppi, thank you for speaking to it and speaking to it so well. You're so right, and that is, infrastructure has been such an important part of our past. It has to be a big part of our future.